All right, welcome back to another episode of Shootin the Shizz with DK and the Schwag. My co-host Brett Wagner. Tonight we got a buddy of ours on, wrestler, horror enthusiast. Welcome again, Adam Newsome.
Hey guys,
Monster versus monster this weekend.
Oh yeah, monster versus monster, as I like to say it. Monster versus ruggedly handsome psychopath. So, yeah,
Well,
it's gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of brutality.
Adam, let's talk about that real quick. So folks don't know, Adam's been on before, but Adam is out there from Mud Creek, Kentucky.
Yep, Mud Creek, Kentucky.
Living in Pikeville, right?
About a mile and a half from Pikeville.
Okay, but now Adam, I've been going up to Pikeville a long time, John. I mean, I've been going up for over a couple of years. Was doing some races up there. Adam and I know some of the same people up there. I love Pikeville. Pikeville does a lot of cool stuff. It's a very progressive town. You say, well, they're up there in the holler. People don't understand about Pikeville, Kentucky, and Allen and Peaburg, Prestonsburg, and all that stuff up there. Very cool part of Kentucky. About an hour and a half. So if you flew into Lexington like you were going to Scarefest, you would then get in your car, drive an hour and a half, I think, north, right? You'd be going north from Lexington. East. Very cool town. I love the town. I love going up there. And Adam loves it up there. And you've been wrestling for about 8 years?
Yep. I got into, I've done mixed martial arts and boxing in my 20s. And once I got 29, I was getting ready to fight for the heavyweight title, and that morning, our promoter passed away, and it sucked the life out of me. It was just a tragic situation, and really lost the desire to fight. I mean, I tore both biceps, had dislocated shoulders, wasn't making anything. I mean, it was just, and I just decided to put it down. My kid was getting into pro wrestling. I'd always been a pro wrestler at heart, with the charisma and basically I grew up on it. And once my kid got into it, I kind of got back. I lost touch with it after high school, kind of. And once my kid got back into it, I started showing him the old stuff. And I was like, man, I'm just 30. I think I can do a few years of this, give it a try, see how it ends up. And lo and behold, that's kind of how I ended up in the squared circle.
Now, John, you wouldn't normally, when someone says, I was doing a little fighting, I tore both my biceps, I hurt my shoulder, amongst other things from doing the MMA. So I'm going to get into pro wrestling, a much safer environment, which me and Adam know is not the case. No. Pro wrestling is, it's entertainment, but it happens to be one of the craziest and I don't want to say violent, but you can get hurt really bad in pro wrestling. That's why a lot of guys don't last in the business very long. It's like normally it's like being an NFL lineman. If you can make 3 years in that business, and if you were trained properly and you can last a little longer, more power to you. Over this weekend, over the last weekend, you had a pretty big match. I know I cut a promo for you. You were working for a new company. Talk a little bit about that.
All-Star Championship Wrestling. They're actually out of Virginia, but they wanted to try to migrate into Pikeville and try to build something there. And the promoter got up with me and he asked if I'd be interested in working there. And I was kind of like, yeah, I may be able to pull a rabbit or two out of the hat too to draw a little attention to the event. So, I reached out to you, my good buddy, the Schwag, Brett Wagner, and he is a promo king anyways. So he took down some notes, he got a little bit of info, and lo and behold, it was a day later. I mean, just thankful this dude's on the road. He's doing conventions. He stays busy, and he has enough time to do a pretty cool promo for me. So I got that out there. A lot of people loved it. The promoter was, he was tickled to death with it. And we really didn't know what kind of crowd we were going to have. But I was pretty, I kind of knew that I was bringing a crowd. So we ended up doing really good. We did good enough to where by intermission, they had wanted another show for May 13th. So kind of let you know right there that things are looking good. So we went out, had our main event, back and forth battle. Schoolboy 1, 2, 3. I'm celebrating to the fans. Crowd's going nuts. Boom, from behind, I get Pearl Harbored by 2 of his comrades. So 3-on-1, even for the human horror movie, it's tough to overcome. But if you know anything, there's always a sequel. And I'll be back in May.
Got a big match coming up. Now, we were just touching on it a little bit, but you're doing a match coming up, Monster versus Monster, which is always a great tagline. And you were saying that so this guy, obviously, who you're wrestling, the Mystic, and he's been around a little bit. So you like this guy, or you appreciate his wrestling? Talk a little bit about him.
Absolutely. The Zodiac has been around. He's a journeyman, but he's well respected in Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, anywhere he goes, man. And his character it makes me think of Sting and The Undertaker, how they chased that match for years and never really even got to do it. And just Henry Shaw, the promoter for Allied Pro Wrestling, pulled the trigger finally. And interesting note about the Zodiac is when I first started training, I went down to BCW, and I got the first time I ever got in the ring and trained. The Zodiac, I didn't know who it was. He wasn't in character, but he was helping a lot of the younger guys, myself included, Bart Batten of the Sensational Batten Twins, who helped me train. He was in the ring, but Zodiac, I hung around. He didn't look anything like his character in the ring, and this is how you do it, man. Later, I went and sit in the crowd, helped put up and do security or whatever. And at the main event, he came out in his whole gimmick. And, dude, he played it so well. And I remember thinking, this guy does his character so good that if I'm able to advance and get over, that's going to be kind of the formula I follow. Wonderful promos. Just a really good style. And I've chased this match a long time. And I did like a 2-year absent from pro wrestling because of COVID and everything. And I didn't know that I would be even back at this point. And I've had 3 matches so far, and it looks really promising. This Friday night, Monster versus Monster, Magoffin County. Like I said, go get your kids from school, take them out, get their bellies full, and bring them down, because they may as well have the Magoffin County SWAT team on hand, because I just don't. This ain't hatred. This is respect. This is pride. And let me tell you something. When we go toe-to-toe, it's going to be a battle like nobody has seen before.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about, the business that, that I was in and you're in right now, is that some people think, well, you got to wrestle this guy. There's an exciting part of it, when I used to get to manage somebody like, C.W. Anderson, right? I got to manage him, and I've got to manage against the Amish Roadkill and some of these guys that I'm still friends with. And to me, as a manager, that was a huge deal. It was like I get to go out there and work with someone I respect, someone I'm a big mark for, someone I get to watch. And I know it's the same with you when you get to go out there and wrestle, especially someone that you respect, and be able to get there and hopefully have a great match and get the fans into it and have all that stuff. So people don't understand that. They don't understand that, you hanging and banging in the gym to stay in shape and get ready for these matches. It's not easy.
No, and I'm 38. I'm not getting any younger. So I'm trying to do my best, because I work kids out throughout the week, and that's starting to grow. That's starting to take on a life of its own even more now. Every day I'm getting messages, but I try to keep training, keep myself in shape, keep diving in and study. I don't quit studying, man. I still go to Rick Rude matches. I'm just watching Rude and Jake the Snake a minute ago. I was watching Barry Windham and the Great Muta just a little bit ago. I'm still studying, seeing what I can pick from my heroes and stuff. But the interesting point, you was talking about how brutal, how physically brutal it is. And in my fighting career, honestly, I got hurt in training. Like the training and sparring and rolling, that's how I got hurt. My matches, thank God, weren't long at all. I won by knockout in 12 seconds. I won by TKO in 27 seconds. Just some real fast wins. But in training, I got hurt more. But me and Dan Severn and Mark Coleman were training UFC Hall of Famers, heavyweight champ. Me and my son went down and trained with them. And Dan Severn had his NWA heavyweight title, and he had his UFC heavyweight titles. And he said, Adam, I always bring these because I want to tell everybody that fake title over there, I've been hurt far worse defending that title than I ever did these UFC titles. He said, that's the respect that I have for pro wrestling, you know.
Dan the Beast Severn, a lot of people, who also, by the way, got into the pro wrestling. Dan the Beast Severn was doing some pro wrestling as well. But one of the most gifted, I remember Randy Couture, who's a good friend of mine. I was like, what do you think about Dan the Beast? And he goes, Dan was just a tremendous, tremendous wrestler. And if he would have started earlier in his MMA career, but he was doing the wrestling, he would have even gone farther. But so to be able to be trained by that guy is just that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, Dan is, like I said, I grew up watching UFC when I was 4 years old. When I was in fourth grade. So I would have been 10 years old when they first came out. And Dan, Ken Shamrock, Hoist Gracie, those were the guys that I was talking to all my friends about, saying, you got to check this out. And they're like, who? I don't know nothing about this, because we had recorded it off pay-per-view and nobody knew anything about this. But I was hooked. So I immediately just started following the sport. And man, it's and I've been blessed to meet, like I was trying to show you a little bit. I've got Couture. I've got his short signed. I've got Dan Severn's glove signed up there. Barry Windham stuff. It's just, if I meet these guys, I try to get something picture taken or something to hang up down here in this man cave I got going. I'm trying to turn it into kind of a podcast studio kind of deal down here. But it's, like I say, I've been blessed to train with some real good fighters over the time, and good wrestlers too. I've trained with some really good pro wrestlers also.
Yeah, Dan Severn really took the mantle after Hoist Gracie. They need somebody to take over. I'm getting some feedback. I don't know if it's loud there. I don't know. I'm getting something anyway. I'm not sure if they're hearing it out there. You guys hearing any feedback?
I hear it. It sounds like you're chewing some chips or something.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was coming from your mic or mine. I don't know.
That seems better.
Yeah, but Hoist Gracie, I'm gonna back out and come back in.
Back out for a second. Well, anytime I've ever been able to work with guys, especially in the business or even in acting, Randy Couture was such a good guy and such a good guy to this day. I've had auditions where I had to be a wrestling coach, a high school wrestling coach. And I'm telling you, Adam, I FaceTimed Randy, and he picked up. He was in a dressing room filming a movie. And I said, I hope I'm not bugging you, man. He goes, no. What do you got? I got a couple. I said, listen, I got to go be a wrestling coach. I know nothing about being a wrestling coach. And I swear to you, he spent 10 minutes going over some names of stuff and what I should say and what I need to do for this audition. Now, I didn't get it, but that's the type of guy that, that I'm always pulling for. When a guy will spend 10 minutes with me and, and spend 10 minutes and tell me some of the stuff that I'm going to need to know for this audition. Well, that's a class act. That's a really good guy that would do that,
Randy is the reason that I fought. Randy Couture is my hero when it comes to mixed martial arts. Watching him at 40, when he was like 43, I was there in Columbus when he came out of retirement, beat Tim Seal. I was there. That's like being able to see your face. It's really mind-boggling to be able to say in your lifetime that you were there when your favorite athlete came out of retirement and won the heavyweight title. It's something I'll never forget. I went up to the Arnold Classic probably 6 years ago and got to meet Randy, and he signed those shorts. And I told him, man, I said, if my kid ever gets into this, you're the guy that I want him to motto. And in this shoot situation, mixed martial arts, honor, respect, that's what it's all about. You don't have to scream, yell, and holler all the time to sell a fight. Randy Couture could sell a fight just out of his personality, being a good dude.
I think I'm back without clicking. I just wanted to make sure. All right, cool, man. If it wasn't the headset tonight, it's the mic. But yeah, I was just saying before that, Hoist Gracie, UFC 1, 2, and 3. I remember watching, and Dan Severn was the guy who stepped in and took that mantle that really had a great run for what, 2, 3 UFCs. And he wasn't a great striker, but the man, you couldn't get out of his grasp. You couldn't outdo his wrestling. He just was such a great wrestler that he just win his matches just with sheer strength. No ground and pound, a little bit of ground and pound, but not great hands.
No, listen, if Dan would have, this is the whole thing. If Dan would have known how to punch, I think, he's a world-class wrestler, Greco-Roman wrestler. Now, if he ever could have put those punches together, but, he got into the game late, right? He got into the fighting where you got to get in there and you got to win a match. But listen, with his brute strength and his world-class wrestling, he took guys apart. Right? When he fought Tank Abbott, I remember he's fighting Tank Abbott, and he's riding Tank Abbott for 30 minutes, and he's trying to punch him in the head. Tank had this big neck and big head, and I'm yelling at the screen, don't break your hands. Just don't break your hands on this guy's noggin, So, yeah, tremendous athlete, tremendous guy to learn from. And, I know he's still out there. I don't know if he's still wrestling. I don't know hopefully he's not still wrestling, but got into the wrestling world as well and held some belts, and just an all around nice guy.
He had actually taught me when we were training with him. He said, "Now, Adam," he said, "I never was a puncher." He was asking what I wanted to learn, and I said, I want to take something back to where learning to close the distance and get into a clinch situation. And he showed us a drill that where you would boom, boom, and then he would cover up in this. That way, if you punch, you're basically hitting your forearms, and he would get double underhooks. And and that stuff that is over my head, but just a phenomenal Greco-Roman wrestler, man, using that technique and leverage in the upper body. And you seen him throwing people around just off leverage, really. Landing them on their heads.
Yeah, he was insane. He wasn't what he and Royce Gracie did with jiu-jitsu, and then, him with the wrestling changed the whole sport, changed fighting in general of what was perceived in people training. You couldn't be an MMA fighter without ground and pound anymore. You can't be this ninja guy. You can't be a karate guy. You can't be a taekwondo guy. If you want just one skill, you wanted wrestling or jiu-jitsu. And that was it.
100%. Guys like Dan, and then guys like Mark Kerr, the Hammer. Greg, obviously, Mark Kerr, when Mark Kerr was just destroying people, and then, and then the Hammer, Coleman would come in too, and he was just a beast on top of guys. And I've been watching Mark Coleman, his little comeback now, and he's in the gym, and he's losing weight. He's not drinking. He's sober, and I'm so happy to watch him come through this whole thing and come back out of, not drinking anymore and getting in good shape. And guys like that, you want to pull for. But yeah, if there was a time, it was jiu-jitsu guys, right? Then it became the wrestling guys, the Greco-Roman guys, and they were tearing people apart. And then you had guys like Randy Couture, who was a world-class wrestler, but he was also a dirty boxer, could box. I believe he boxed in the Army. And then you realize that you got to be able to do all that, right? It's just not the jiu-jitsu, because of, guys that do Greco-Roman wrestling, John, they're training all the time. They know how to ride you, right? They'll ride you, use their leverage, and they'll just tire you out. So, and now you got to be
I didn't like compete or anything, but I trained MMA for a little bit, and I'm just the training alone is excruciating and brutal. And it evolved from guys like Royce Gracie. Now you can't just be a good grappler. You can't just be a great takedown guy. You can't just be a great puncher. You can't just be a great kickboxer. You can't just be great. You have to be everything now. I watched the first UFC live, and to what it was to where it is now is like night and day. There's athletes in it. Guys like John Jones are straight up athletes, where before, when it first started, a lot of them were just barroom brawlers saying, "Hey, I'm a tough guy." And it worked for guys like Tank Abbott. Hell, Tank Abbott was a character. He was a lot of fun. Just his pre-fight stuff was hilarious. Yeah, it came down, some guy honked at me at a red light and I kicked his ass or something. And that was how I warmed up.
Tank was an amateur wrestler too, though, man. I mean,
Yep.
he didn't brag about it a lot because
Yeah.
of that character, that gimmick, and
Yeah.
But I mean, the first true mixed martial artist that I think in my mind, I was a young guy, but when Guy Metzger fought at UFC 4, he was kind
Guy
of
Metzger was, yeah, he was he underrated.
Uh-oh.
Kind of putting it together.
No, is it? Are you not hearing Adam now, or is it me?
Somebody's scratching. Both of maybe you're getting a little scratchy.
I'm not even saying anything. Cat scratch fever. I'll back out again.
I don't know if it's you or if it's Adam. Adam's frozen now.
Yeah.
You there,
Well,
Adam?
At least he's smiling. Oh, there he goes.
Out here. Okay, I think that was him, wasn't it?
Well, say something, Adam.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I hear you. Something's getting a little screwy. Oh yeah, Guy Metzger, man. All these guys that all these guys that used to fight and were in the heyday in the beginning of the UFC were pretty amazing. A lot of those guys. I wonder if hopefully that's not me.
Frank Shamrock was another one, man, that was not talked about nearly as enough.
I'm afraid to talk. I'm afraid
No, you're good. We were just talking about Frank Shamrock. Frank Shamrock was a stud, man. I mean, Boss Rutan and Frank, and I'm trying to think if that was one of the matches I saw was just unbelievable. Shamrock versus Boss Rutan and some of these guys, and
yeah, Boss Rutan was a straight up badass dude right there.
Some of these fights, the King of Pancreas.
Oh yeah.
Where they don't punch to the face, right? There's no in the King of Pancreas. They're not punching to the face. Palm strikes, punches to the gut. I mean, when you take away that, but Boss Rutan was knocking guys out with palm strikes.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, he was a straight beast. A lot of those guys were like Frank Shamrock. The Gracie family had a great run. I'm trying to think of some of the guys because this microphone thing's killing me. But there was, it just in Pride alone. Silva was the axe murder. He was crazy. Nogueira brothers.
Is a name that a lot of people forget. He was kind of like the Fedor before Fedor. Igor Vovchanson. He was tough.
Yep.
Man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I remember Igor. A lot of the Pride fights. I finally started watching them after UFC. It was a lot different too. You could kick people in the head. Butterbead fought. You had so many Bob Sapp. You had these big muscle guys, and you'd have these little guys whooping their ass at times just with technique. And yeah, it was an exciting time watching MMA in its early days. Now it's like back then, it's like, well, maybe I could get a punch or two. And now I watch these guys now. It's like watching these NFL pro athletes going out. It's like, man, I wouldn't even want to try anymore.
It's a different world, man. It is.
Oh, hell no.
John.
We used to have Pride. Pride was great. I remember I used to love watching Pride. I used to love, what's his name? Dan
Henderson.
Dan Henderson, for God's sakes, man. Dan Henderson, world-class wrestler, but his hands were so, when he dropped that bomb on you, when he took out Bisbane and some other guys, but he was fighting, in Pride. All these guys that were, and then K1 too. I love K1. As much as I love to see guys roll around on the ground and do stuff, K1, you had 3 rounds. Someone was getting knocked out. With a kick or a punch. And some of these guys, Ernesto Hoost and some of these guys who were just amazing,
Mark Hunt was another great K1 fighter.
For God's sakes.
Awesome. Yeah, I like K1 also. And, I didn't get to see it unless it was like ESPN2 at like 2 a.m. or something like that when I was in high school. That's how I got to catch it.
Vitor Belfort is one who really brought the fists. He was the first great striker I remember seeing. That guy, his hands were another level at that time compared to a lot of the other guys that came out and started doing, because it has evolved. There were guys who it was better to be a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy and a wrestler translate and get your hands better than your hands be good and then trying to learn wrestling because it's just a totally different animal. And Dan Henderson was
Vitor ran into a 37-year-old Randy
Couture. I remember that fight. He took like 20 minutes to get to the ring.
Yeah, and Randy.
I remember. I watched that
Randy,
fight.
Like Brett was talking, man. Dirty boxed him, and
oh yeah, Couture was the master of that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Vitor Belfort. Vitor almost ruined John Jones' career
with that arm.
Had him in an arm bar,
yeah.
And
he hyperextended it.
I'm not the biggest John Jones fan. I was like, I was yelling, break his arm, break his arm.
I was so happy. I was like, he's got him. It's it right here. And then he slid out of it, but it was bent. It was.
Oh, he broke it. I'm pretty sure he broke his arm.
He screwed him up for like 6 months. Yeah, it was bad.
I mean, but like John Jones or dislike him, that man is an athlete. That dude is not a quitter. I mean, his toe alone, was it against Chael Sonnen where his toe was like?
Yes, it was.
It was a mess, and he still came in and won that fight, and that had to hurt, man. I mean, those small.
Like Greg Nicotero had just, put down on his foot or something. It looked.
Yeah. Oh, it was zombie toe. Yeah.
You know, another guy that I used to love watching in K1 was Semi Schultz.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
7 foot, whatever he was, 7'1", whatever. And here's this big giant guy, and you would think someone that big wouldn't be able to do something, but legitimately fighting, he was the K1 champion a few different times. But enough with a little bit of we've gone over some wrestling,
brother. We got a big event on Friday night. It's Friday, right?
Yes, sir.
Monsterverse monster. Let's pull it up again.
It's going to be, and right now, the human horror movie always comes out as a different horror icon, and gets in their head because you don't know if you're going to have Jason come out with a chain around his neck and a mask and then take it off, or you don't know if Leatherface is going to come out and start a chainsaw up, or if Michael Myers is going to stalk you to the ring. You don't know. So the other night I was thinking, I was like, man, I want to throw some paint on. I ain't done it in a while. So Insidious, that jump scare with the red-faced demon, I was like, let's go that route. And the guy that does my face paint is unbelievable, and it turned out perfect. So it's going to be interesting to see who I think about. I thought about Captain Spaulding. May go Captain Spaulding Friday.
I liked it. It gave me a little bit. It reminded me a little bit like the Great Muda.
Yeah.
With a little bit of that makeup you had on. So let's talk about. I mean, because you do the human horror movie. Let's talk about some of that because you like to incorporate a couple different things. You love pro wrestling. Obviously, you wouldn't be in it, but you love to incorporate the horror stuff that you really love in the movies and growing up loving that horror movie stuff. So how did that come about? When you started wrestling, did you know that you were going to try to incorporate that?
Man, when I first got into the business, I was the ticking time bomb. I was a loose cannon type character. I would just, unhinged. I would jump out of the ring, steal people's pop, drink it, and give it back. I was just anything that I could do to get, just make a reaction, to get the crowd. I was just doing crazy stuff, but I was a heel. But the crowd was eating it up. I mean, because I was getting crazier and crazier. And they finally, the promoter come to me and was like, Adam, they're going to change you, dude. You're not going to be a heel long. And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm wild. He said, no. He said, it's a Stone Cold effect. He said, you can be a heel, but the crowd dictates what you are. And he said, you're a full-fledged babyface. He said, you're the most over babyface we've had in this company, and you don't even know it yet. And I was like, okay, then whatever. So I was in a faction called WTF, Women, Titles, and Fame, and we kind of kicked a member out and was kind of getting ready to do our own thing. And I started thinking about the human horror movie. I was like, man, I'd like to take and do something different every match. I'd come out with a different mask on or a different costume or something with my entrance. And man, you talk about picking up. I mean, kids bringing signs, Hellraiser and Pinhead. I mean, fans bringing me masks. I had a fan buy me a Pinhead mask just to wear to the ring. And man, I tried something different with a different company. I went to Astonishing Adam Newsome. It's kind of like a Ravishing Rick Rude character. I wanted to do that before I called it a day. And it wasn't as good as I could have done it. So when I went back to my old company, I went back to Human Horror Movie, went back to my Rob Zombie entrance music, and it's been a success. I mean, honestly, around this part in the eastern part of the state, kind of southern West Virginia, people know it,
Well, let's talk about some of the inspiration from some of the characters you do. When did you? How old were you when you started liking the horror movies and watching?
I'm gonna tell you something, man, and I've told this story. I told RA this story, but the first time, like, my mom took me to get my brother. He was hanging out at a friend's house, and they were having a sleepover. Actually, she took me to give him something. I can't remember if it was clothes, toothbrush, or something. But I was like 4 years old. So I walk into this house and go back to the bedroom where all the boys are, and they're watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. And I walk in, and my eyes, like, boom, hit the TV. And it's the scene where they're in the kitchen, and they give Leatherface the big Cadillac chainsaw. And it's playing real creepy music. And Tinker and Tex is in there, and I'm scared of this stuff at the time. I'm frightened, but I'm also, at this point, I'm like, what is this? And so anyways, he starts up the chainsaw. About that time, my brother makes me leave and stuff, and that's on my mind forever. So I go and rent it at like a mom and pop video store around the house. And that night I watched it with my brother, and I had the worst nightmares ever. I'm talking the worst nightmares ever. And then I woke up in the middle of the night and went and woke my brother up. I was like, dude, I said, you got to get up with me. I said, I was probably crying and stuff at the time, but the next morning I woke up, rewinded it, watched it over. So Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3 was the reason that I got into horror movies, man. And once it was on at that point, I was renting Part 2, Part 1. I was just renting every horror movie I could get at the time. And it just become, everybody that knows me, man, like in high school, I was Chainsaw. That was my nickname. I'd always, at Halloween, I brought a live chainsaw to school. I didn't have the chain on it, but I was dressed in Leatherface gear and did the dance in the hallway at the end before I left. And I've done some pretty cool stuff for that, I guess.
I mean, it's the same for me, right? When I was growing up, I was such a horror movie guy that I just loved it. I mean, I think I've talked about it before, but the 1967 or 68 Night of the Living Dead, and then Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things, and a Phantasm. I was such a big fan of that later on in life, when I got I auditioned to be Leatherface for the 2003, and I got it. I was just like, well, art intimidating, and imitating life, and I was just like, this is just crazy. As a matter, when I was a kid, I used to work at the North Hills JCs, and we put on a haunted house at Devonshire Downs called the Factory of Nightmares, and I used to be like the chainsaw guy. I'd put on this outfit and I'd scare people with the chainsaw. So it's a lot similar. We both loved that stuff, and then later on in life, we figured out how to incorporate it. You and your wrestling, me on TV and the movies and whatnot. So it's pretty cool. Talk about some of the characters that you do come out as.
Well, that's funny you brought up Phantasm, because I was down in the gym working out earlier, and I turned on the Phantasm theme. So I worked out a little bit to the Phantasm theme tonight. But the first one, actually, let me plug this up because my phone's about to die. So I'm going to give myself some power. But the first one I ever did was actually like a homemade character that the guy that paints my faces does. He's real proud of this character, Andy Barrell, he does. So he had like a homemade mask, and I put it on, and it was an outside event. Nobody knew who I was at that point because, it was just kind of like a scary looking mask. But right after that, we double shot. Okay. We double shot. Can y'all hear me still? Okay. We double shot, went to Wheelwright, and that was the first time I ever did Leatherface. So that was a surprise to the crowd because it was like one of our 4 big shows of the year. I did a Freddy Krueger one. I didn't have the best Freddy Krueger get up, so the mask kind of looked bad. But one of the ones I'm really proud about is the Dawn of the Dead. I like that one because it was the blue zombie color. It was a little bit of a throwback. I think I've got pictures of that one, actually. Scream was another one I do. A lot of the crowd likes the Scream. costume. But something I've been doing lately that I think is really getting over is a photo op. So I'll bring different masks at intermission and put on my table, my gimmick table. And if a kid wants to come up and buy something, take a picture, they can pick a mask or a plastic hatchet or a plastic, and then they can take a picture with me and whatever getup I'm on. And it's called, like a convention, a photo op kind of deal with the human horror movie. So I've kind of incorporated that in on it also. But just
you'll need a 3-eyed demon mask when we got those. Now that would be pretty sick going down here.
Yes.
Down to the ring end.
Gonna have to get Michael Toth to do some sort of special design so I can have it put on a t-shirt or something, start selling those bad boys.
There you go. Let's see what's made.
You're clicking again, Johnny. Well, now it stopped clicking. And now it's back. But, I think the big deal is going to be next, Adam, is if you can come up with a cocaine bear costume.
What's that now?
If we can get you to come up with the cocaine bear.
Imagine the sweat he'd be in just going down in a cocaine bear outfit. He'd just need a head, though. You'd have to go with just a head.
Okay.
Or this Winnie the Pooh.
Pooh Bear.
I did Pennywise also. Pennywise was another one that was the crowd liked. I could do the old school face paint, or I could do the new face paint. And that was, I'd bring red balloons out and actually used one balloon that had a toxic waste in it, and it blew up in a guy's face. He came back. I looked at him with a slaughterhouse drop, which is my finisher. And it was a pretty cool finish. One of my favorite finishes we ever did.
You might want to move your mic a little bit there. Just
okay. How about now?
Well, I'm wondering if that's you or that's John still. John's off, but
yeah, it can't be me. It can't be me. I think it's Brett.
Me?
I just want to blame you. I'm tired of blaming myself for this. But it wasn't me because I bounced out.
I'll come right back. You guys keep chatting.
It's that Schwag. I know it is. I just know it. Nope. What? God, StreamYards. I'm glad I'm paying. You want to try going back and coming in? I don't know. It sometimes it stops and there it goes, Yeah, it's not Brett's fault.
Wonder if it's me.
I could be. You could try backing out and come back in. Because I'll even turn down my mic. I just don't think it's that. All right. Yeah, I think it might have been Adam because I'm not hearing it now.
I think it was Adam.
Yeah.
He'll be back on in a second.
Yeah, because I bounced out and then it kind of went away. So I was like, all right, well, maybe.
Well, you bounced out and it was still going on. So it had to be one of us. So it might have been Adam. He'll come back in a second.
Yeah.
Or it's Michael Toth trying to be,
Michael Toth is like the ultimate troll. You see him? His comments bad down there. It's like, geez, man. He's like my biggest troll. My best friend's like one of my biggest trolls. What the hell's up?
Steve, I don't even know if I know how to say Steve's last name right. Deebles?
Diebus?
Steve Paul Nada is in the house.
I wanted to say Deebles, but it's not Deebles. What's up, Patrick? Have Cheatable View. We were on his show, about 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, man.
Paul Nada's here. Michael Toth.
Yeah.
No, none of that this year. I'm not doing that event. I haven't done that. I did that event once. It'll be more Crypticon talk. And nothing against that event, but I'll talk about the events I'm going to. Monster Expo, Taunton, Massachusetts, Midwest Monster Fest.
Really excited about that. I got a big one this weekend. I haven't been back in over 10 years. In fact, I'm doing Horror Hound weekend in Sharonville at the Sharonville Convention Center. You back, Adam?
Yeah. How do I sound?
You're good. You sound good now.
Awesome.
We were just talking about, Adam, I got a big some of the conventions we're going to. Now, I'm sure you go to Scarefest out there since it's near you.
Yeah.
That's how I met Adam.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
I got Cincinnati. I got this weekend Horror Hound. I haven't been in like 10 or 11 years. I am so pumped up. I've been keeping up on it. They have so many good guests going to be there, and
I seen
they're
Douglas
sold out.
Tate's going to be with you, isn't he?
Who's that?
Douglas Tate. Wasn't he signed
Douglas
up also?
Tate. Doug Tate's going to be there. I'm pretty excited about that. In fact, I met Doug 11 years ago. Was the first time I ever met him, and it was at Horror Hound. It was one of my first convention ever, and so we're having a little reunion there, and it's gonna be huge. The tickets are, as I've been trying to tell people, get your tickets. I think the VIP tickets already sold out, so that means you're going to have to get there every day to get in early, or just like Scarefest, from what I understand from you two. If you don't get there early, you're going to be in line, so you're going to have to wait for these celebrities to get signed, and it's sometimes it's fun. I will wait for the right person. I mean, I'm a big mark, right? So as we say, Adam, we can talk about being a mark, which is a word we use in pro wrestling, but I'm a mark for all the horror guys. So I'm pretty excited to get out there and say hello to a couple of these guys and get to hang out.
Well, we went to Horror Hound when Walking Dead. Like my kid, when he was 3, was like crazy about The Walking Dead. So all the cast was going to be there. And I had been to Days of the Dead, Scarefest, a couple other conventions. So I just thought we'd roll in, I didn't think it would be, we got a room that night. So we went up to Cincinnati. The next morning we dressed him up like Rick in a little sheriff outfit. And we just were going to roll in. We got there and the line, they cut it off. You couldn't even get in. So we had to turn right back around and run and drive 4 hours back here. And I'll never forget, man. They cut it off. They cut the line off. It was stretched out so far, and I can't remember, but they were talking about Norman Reedus's line was just absolutely like, and this is at the height of Walking Dead, man. They said the line was just unthinkable.
The same thing is going on now for like the Terrifier crew, director, and everybody in the movie. I mean, you see their lines. Of course, the Scream guys. At Creep IE Con in February when I was there. I mean, if you saw the line for the Terrifier crew and the guys in the Scream, it was so long. But to their credit, guys like that and Norman Reedus as well will stay there till the last person is in line, and they will sign till their fingers are raw and bloody, and they will stay there till the end. And a lot of people don't do that, right?
No.
But those guys will, to make sure that those people that have waited 3 or 4 hours in line sometimes, make sure they get their autograph, make sure they say something nice, Jamie Kennedy, I did a couple TV shows with him back in the day, the Jamie Kennedy Experience. And I watched him make sure he took a picture and shook hands with everybody. Doug Jones, Bill Mosley, guys like that will make sure that they say hello to you, even and give you a hug, give you a handshake, and that's what these things are all about, right? So it's a blessing if me or John, or even you, Adam, can go to a show, whether it's wrestling, whether it's a convention, and someone will wait, to come up and say hello to us. We're blessed to be able to have that, and you got to make sure that you say hello and shake their hand and take a picture. And if you don't do that,
and I'm not on the same level as you guys, but when I came out the other night, I had the guy that was doing the ring announcing and the bell. He's like, Adam, he said, there's some kids that want to come walk out with you. Are you cool with it? And I was like, yeah, I mean, as long as, they're not in any danger or anything and can get across the line. I said, I'm all for it. So I've just posted on my story today. Somebody had sent me a video of when I came out. All these kids, man, just came to the to when I walked out, and they were going ballistic. And I signed so much stuff this weekend. And like you said, we're blessed. Even if it's a small scale, man, if you do something, if you show a kid attention that come to these shows, or it's a big deal to them, and it's a big deal to me. I don't take that stuff for granted. I've been blessed to be able to make sure everybody has a good time. That's my main thing, man. I want everybody that paid $7, $10, make sure they get 100% of Adam Newsome when I'm out there.
Well, I got to give Adam a lot of respect too. He's out there, not on his off time, working with these kids. And what is it, the Bears Den?
Yep.
Yeah, and I didn't want. I always get confused, Lions Den or Bears Den. I know Lions Den is more the MMA, but he's out there working with these youngsters, these kids, being a good role model to them, helping them work out, stay in shape, get ready for whatever sport they're doing, whether it's basketball, baseball, or just training them to defend themselves. So big props to you for taking the time out. And not only as a father yourself, you do a lot for your son, as you said, taking the conventions and all this other stuff. What kid would want more? But you're reaching out to the community and helping out these youngsters and developing their skills. So,
well,
congratulations, that's awesome.
This community is not like got a lot of money in it. Where I live, it's kind of there's. To me, when I started doing the Bears Den, it was in COVID, and I was kind of like. It was towards the end of COVID when everything started to open back up a little bit. And I was kind of like, some of these kids that are athletes haven't had a chance to do much, man. No training or nothing, unless they did it around the house. So I had some weights. I had some heavy bags and stuff at my old house. And I reached out, and some athletes started coming and working out and stuff. And it didn't matter what sport they played. I always incorporated boxing and MMA, like mitt work, because I'm a real true believer that mitt work helps hand-eye coordination, memory. I mean, learning the punches, the numbers. I mean, it helps just about everything. Breathing techniques. But the thing I get really, I don't know how to say it. The thing I like doing a lot now is the kids that come here that want to lose weight or get a little stronger, or that's shy. And I like seeing them develop and be social around other kids, and see them excited to be able to get a new PR or something, and that's what I get kicks out of right now.
Building their confidence is huge, man. It's all the difference in the world. You could be the best athlete, you could be this or that, but if your confidence is down in the tubes, or you don't believe in yourself that you got a chance, somebody like you who's teaching them to do a little bit better, believe in themselves, push themselves to work hard for the goals, because nothing great is easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
I tell them that too, John. That's exactly what I tell them.
I always looked at it, and I did a lot of sports as a kid, and there was a lot of things I loved about boxing, like boxing, just the pivot alone for swinging, or even pitching, just the movement, the balance. For football, it doesn't matter. There's just so much you can take out of MMA, even if you're not going to fight somebody, just doing the training, just getting used to the motions, getting used to the balance, getting used to those stretches go a long way.
There was a kid that came yesterday for his first time, and he was a little bit shy, and he walks down. I go up meet his grandpa, and he walks down, and he don't know. I mean, he walks in, and I've got a big like Leatherface shrine, horror shrine, and I do a lot of promos and stuff down there in front of it. And he walks in, and he's like, "Man, this is the coolest place I've ever seen." I was like, "Oh, do you like horror movies?" And he raised up his shirt, had a Halloween shirt on. I was like, "Dude, I got that same shirt." And from then on, man, he was just, it was like he felt like he was at home.
You are my new star pupil. Yes. You come with me.
That was it.
It's funny because I've been trying to, obviously I'm old. Well, I'm older than you, Adam. So at 55 years old, I've been hitting the gym again, and you look at all these young people that are all jacked up and buff and everything, and here's this old guy, 300 pounds in there, and I don't lift heavy weights, but I make an effort to get in there. Sometimes, these guys, some of the guys know. I had a trainer there, and I said, "Listen, just give me one day of the basics, just so I can remember and get lifting." And I brought him a Funko Pop, a Leatherface Funko Pop, and I gave it to him signed, and he was like, "Oh my God." So now they're like, "Hey, Leatherface is working out." I'm like, "Well, don't watch what I'm lifting, right?" But it's just the effort of getting out there and lifting. I don't lift the heavy weights, but I'm going through the motions because I'm still an actor, right? I got a movie we're filming a week from today in Vegas. I'm very blessed to be working on Desert Fiends, and I got to kill a few people. So just the repetition of getting in there. even if you're young or old, with whether it's a kid or not, and getting in there in the gym every day and doing the cardio and lifting the weights is obviously it's a big deal. And confidence is a big deal, especially if you're young. Once you get if you don't have confidence,
it's over.
9 out of, I mean, there's going to be a lot, whether it's you're an actor, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're, a gardener, it doesn't matter. You got to have that little confidence, and being able to get in the gym, having someone like you train them and having a good time at it is a big confidence booster, and it's a good thing. Now, besides all that, we've pumped you up. We've talked about all the good stuff. Let's talk a little horror. Let's talk a little bit of horror, the business of horror. What have you seen lately, and what is coming up that you're looking forward to watching?
Man, I watched the Night of the Living Dead remake. I went back, revisited it a couple nights ago. It's one of my favorite remakes of all time. It's up there with
Tony Todd.
Yes, Tom Tolles, Patricia Tallman, Billy Butler. My goodness,
Bill Moseley.
Bill Moseley. God. I mean, it's the music to it, man. I mean, just Tom Savini really did a wonderful job on that film. I mean, it is atmospheric, man. It's really just. I went back, like I said, and revisited it. As far as looking forward to anything right now, Scream 6 is out, but I'm ashamed to say it. I haven't seen Scream 4.
I haven't seen it either. I wanted to go the first weekend, but I forget what came up last weekend. I was at the convention, so hopefully this weekend I get there before I get spoiled on the on the twist. That's the only reason I even want to watch any Scream movie is the twist. So
I'm hearing really good reviews on it, though.
I've heard mixed. I've heard people that love it. I've heard people that hate it. I'm looking forward to going in myself and finding out. And as long as it's not how I felt when I walked out of Halloween Ends, I'll be a happy camper, because that was a real gut punch for me.
That was Desert. It was. And with Halloween Ends, I kind of enjoyed I did. And I'm in a real, I guess they stand alone, because a lot of people around here didn't like it at all. So I did like the storyline, because I kind of wanted, Michael Myers ain't going to be around forever. I liked the new boogeyman of Haddonfield. I thought the little, the guy, that could have been a cool little deal. But the way Michael Myers, man, was treated in that, it didn't feel like
they should have transitioned it to a new trilogy, the new shape, instead of Michael Myers. It could have been, whatever, Corey story. Right. Yeah, that one hurt. That hurt a lot. I didn't cry much. It just hurt the other 3 movies in the series for me. It really did. But I'm not going to beat on that movie. Some people loved it, and I respect it. Give my buddy Kyle Rappaport a big shout out. He just got into Desert Fiends as an extra on the podcast. So
that's right.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, Kyle, I'll see you. I'll see you in Vegas. Now, the crazy thing is I fly Thursday to Cincinnati for Horror Hound. I come back Monday, do my laundry, and Tuesday morning I'm in a car driving to Vegas, and then I'll film 2 or 3 days, and then April 1st, if anybody that's watching us is in Vegas or near, I'll be at Nightmare Toys and Nightmare Cafe on April Fool's Day doing a little signing, and then we go back to filming Desert Fiends. Now this, Tom Arnold, Bai Ling, Robert Lasardo. I mean, and there's someone else who's a very, 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 very big actress in the horror world I can't talk about yet. They'll announce it, but I'm pretty excited. Sean C. Phillips and Nicole Vegas and all the people that are on this thing. This movie's pretty good, and it's not easy to get all these actors in one movie. I mean, you have a bunch of people don't give Tom Arnold credit. He's very funny. I've watched him play an evil character before, so I'm pretty excited to be able to, to be at least, I'm going to be a fanboy and get a picture with Tom Arnold, and I'll tell you that. And I may kill a few other people. I don't know if I get to kill Tom, but we'll find out. And so we're pretty excited about that. Kyle, I'm excited to meet you, so make sure you bring
he's going to be on set. I think he's remotely filming. But we do want to watch the Shackle Demon Project, and we're going to get Kyle on. So we're going to sit down and talk to Kyle soon. He's a real inspirational kind of guy to me.
He is.
Deals with the odds and surpasses them. Yeah, real proud of Kyle.
Another thing that's going on is the whole animals and horror movie. You know, that whole genre right now is kicking it off. Cocaine Bear did very well. Now I hear Asylum
Crackoon.
Records is doing Meth Gator. And now I hear there's actually going to be Crackoon.
Yeah.
Raccoon. So,
Crackoon.
now, listen, I got to get in one of these things. But and then we didn't get to see a friend of mine, Neil Hibbert from England, who does For the Love of Horror, helps with For the Love of Horror out there. I said, "How was the movie?" And he says, "You know, the kills are pretty good. The story was iffy, and I don't know if anybody has seen that. That's what is that? The Blood and Stone, the Winnie the Pooh, and
Blood and Honey.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going to watch that now. I've been getting different reviews on it, but the whole animal horror genre is hot right now.
I'm just going to write Methigator, you know,
Well,
and he goes around, he loses his teeth, and you know, he becomes that maddens this Methigator, and he just goes around and tortures people without teeth, just swinging them around. It's going to be a great movie.
You know,
guys, I have two random movies I want to see if you guys watched and what you thought of. 1991 Popcorn. Did you guys ever check Popcorn out?
Of course, Popcorn. One of the cool posters. I have it. I have the poster in my garage.
Really?
I have not seen it.
You
I got it on my watch list. I got to see it. Yeah.
Yes.
I got it on my watch list. See, the 90s are tough for me with horror movies because I was in high school at the time. Like 89, 90, I started to kind of get away from it. I was, you know, freshman in high school. Sports were kind of, you know, going to play, you know, street hockey, things kids don't do anymore. And I just lost horror movie because it was getting, and I respect it now, but like Bride of Chucky, it was getting more comedy horror than the horror part. So I kind of just outgrew it for a little bit. So movies like Popcorn was a little, yeah.
But now,
what was the second movie, Adam?
Dude. Popcorn is severely underrated. The second one, do you all remember Gunnar Hansen doing Campfire Tales?
I know he did it and never watched it.
I watched it, and it just dawned on me that it was Gunnar Hansen at the campfire telling the stories. Like, I watched it a long time ago, and me and my friend rented it at a local video store, and I'm like, man, that looks, I know it's not, but it looks like Gunnar Hansen. And this was before the internet and everything. And, you know, I only got to see Gunnar like in Fangoria just a little bit with the big beard. I mean, and then I was thinking back, and I started went down the rabbit hole, and it was Gunnar Hansen. He was the guy telling the ghost stories, and it was really cool. It's campfire stories, but that one and Popcorn stuck out to me this week for some reason. Popcorn is, you need to watch that one, John. You will love
I've got it on my watch list, and you know, it's funny you even mention it because I've been wanting to watch it this week, and I keep starting it, and then it's like, okay, you know what? I got to rewatch Frankenhooker. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Speaking of Frankenhooker, John, I believe we are going to be with the star of Frankenhooker at Midwest Monster Fest.
Yes, I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I was too tired for it. But they just announced her, and it's great that she was announced because I just watched the movie the other day and rewatched it, and it was like, oh, cool, and here it comes, you know.
So Adam, besides the show coming up this Friday, anything else going on you want to plug? And if people want to get a hold of you and for a booking for wrestling, what do they do?
Just yell at me on my personal Facebook, Adam Newsome. May 13th, me and Eric Porter, evil Eric Porter, as you know, my good buddy Schwag, had to set him straight. We're going to rematch. And I'm going to take out his two minions, comrades. Whether I do it single-handedly or whether I have some backup, that remains to be seen. But May 13th at North Point, we're back, and I want to make his life a nightmare that night. Wild Time Podcast. I've had both you guys on. Right now, I'm kind of looking for new guests, and Baby Doll, the Perfect 10 from the NWA days.
Wow.
She's interested in coming on. I'm reaching out to Rick Rude's son. I haven't got anything back from her. The original Gata, Monique Dupree. You guys are probably familiar with Monique. Trying to get something if her schedule pops open and have something going. So John Hackelman, Chuck Liddell's trainer.
You should reach out to Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I've met him before. He seems pretty cool. He's in the social media.
Yeah,
he was a great guy. I met him a bunch of years ago at a Comic-Con. Yeah.
Really
well, I'll see if we can get Ron. You know, I got Ron Simmons' number on my phone that I met him, and we'll see if I can reach out to him, see if we can get him to come on with you for a little bit.
That'd be sweet, dude. It would be
John, what do you got coming on?
Oh, well, tomorrow night, DK and the Bees Horror Buzz at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got a guest coming. I can't forget the guy's name. I'm bad with name. Oh, Brett Wagner, the big Schwag. You know, it's going to be the first time him and Beatrice actually, I mean, they know each other, friends on Facebook, but actually get a chance to talk. And it's going to be my last episode with Beatrice for a little bit because she's filming and she's going on vacation. So our show will be on hiatus until May, but, you know, some really, really cool stuff. So it's going to be a fun show. It's going to be great to sit down with Brett. I know what I'm going to be doing, sitting back and just being entertained by them two talking and just watching them meet, because they're two of my closest friends. I love them to death, both of them, you know, and yeah.
And as far as our show, we got a couple people that we're going to get on here, Michael Bailey Smith, and then Michael Bailey Smith's already said, yeah, he would love to come on, and I'm still going to try to get Robert Patrick on here and get my buddy Dan Yeager on. You know, Dan's a great guy and probably one of the most interesting Leatherfaces ever to play the part. Very smart guy, loves cigars, loves reading. So a lot of good stuff coming up. Adam, always, we wish you the best. Keep it up. And I got to check my thing and see if May 13th, I don't know if I'm not out of town doing something and I can figure out a way to come out. I would love to come out and walk you down to the ring and watch your back, of course, because, you know, between the two of us, I'm 305, and I think I could hold off a couple guys just in case.
Hey, listen, that would be awesome. And I just want to say, John, keep up the good work, my man. You're doing awesome stuff here with Doomsday. It is, you know, I've got to be really good buddies with you, and you're doing something that's going to keep building. I mean, you've got the right man by your side right there, having Beatrice come on. For a guy like me that loves horror and different things, I tune in. I like sharing your stuff, and just Brett, thank you for always being super cool to me, and God bless you guys, dude. Keep it up.
I appreciate the kind words. Keep up those great interviews. I've been loving seeing the old school UFC guys, some of the old school wrestlers, some of the old, you had RA on there. So keep up those great shows, man. They're great to just go in and watch and see some of the people you've had on. It's like, wow. Houston Alexander, people I'd never expect to see on shows. So I'm enjoying your content. Keep it up, man.
Well, listen, I know you guys are busy. I'm going to hop off here. And like I said, you take care of Brett. Don't bash too many people over the head with the sledge. And John, keep getting them guests, my man.
All right, brother. Much appreciated. Tomorrow night, DK and the Bees Horror Buzz, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself, Beatrice, interviewing that man right next to me. So see you guys there. Peace out. Let's get her ended. I got